Thanks for tuning in to Seven Figure Fitness Business. Now, today we're going to be discussing the topic of authentic marketing. Now, G, seeing as you're our marketing expert, let's start with you, mate. What do we actually mean when we say authentic marketing?
Authentic marketing is being yourself. I think, we have a lot of experience seeing clients, and, the reason we're talking about this is so many people try to copy us. But the reality is copying us and sending a message that is not actually people's own message generally results in failure. And, it's very hard to replicate us when we have such a strong brand and such a strong message. We've had a lot of clients go through this, and I know, Iggy, you've got a bit of a story about one of our more, recent examples of this.
Yeah, last week is a perfect example. We have a client, some awesome clients, David and Candace, that were actually going through a situation similar to what a lot of our clients experience, where they're trying to copy exactly what we're doing, how we're communicating. And the issue with that is, unless it's perfectly in alignment with who you are and what you want to do, you're going to find yourself communicating in a way that's disingenuous to you. And they were experiencing this where they had this storefront, they were like communicating, they were messaging in a way that wasn't really in alignment with who they were. And AG essentially had to give them permission to be like, hey, like, stop copying us. Like, how do you want to communicate? What's genuine to you, right? What do you really value? And what are you guys trying to get across to your audience? And what's interesting is that what they were experiencing is similar to what a lot of people experience, where they're putting a lot of false expectation on themselves, thinking that if they want to present this professional storefront, they have to communicate a certain way or assume like a false persona that they made up on themselves.
Let's look at the contrast, then the difference between what's actually happened, right? So, we're dealing with, in our business, it's like women with thyroid problems, women struggling with menopause, who typically, have anxiety, depression, poor mental health. They've been burned many times in the past, and they're, a lot of the time they're damaged. So what's our message like when we're targeting, our women? It's like, okay, really soft photos of food, shakes. Our entire message is just relax. Like when it comes to jumping on a sales call, it's like, hey, let's have a cup of tea, let's chat together. And
it's like a mama bear, where it's like very gentle. You're almost coddling them a little bit, whereas for them, that's not who they are at all. They don't value. For them, they're like, F you if you're trying to coddle me. Like, so that's really who they are. And they're very like blunt and very direct. So it's funny that they were putting out this message that was completely contrary to who they really were. And so when we essentially gave them the permission to stop doing that and communicate exactly how they want to communicate to their audience, they actually had somebody say, as soon as they started communicating in a way that was true to themselves, they actually had somebody say, reach out to them and say, I can't be friends with you anymore because I can't allow you to be swearing on my timeline. And that's exactly what you want. You want to put people off, right? That's the first sign that they were doing the right thing, because if you're communicating in a way that's genuine to you, you're going to offend some people and you're going to rub people the wrong way, but you're also going to attract the right people who value what you value and who are speaking the same language. And that's what they experienced. The same week they decided, you know what, taking off the gloves, I'm done putting on this fake persona. They made a sale the same week, a paid in full. They got a paid in full high ticket client. They went from communicating in a way that was disingenuous to who they were, and then they took the gloves off and they're like, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm not afraid what anybody else thinks. This is who we are. This is what we value. And if you have the same attitude and you have the same set of values and beliefs as we do, then awesome. You can ride with us. If you don't, then F off. And that's really what they said. And a ton of people gravitated to that, but a ton of people are also put off by it. But the result of that was a clarity in their message that, one, was genuine to them, that spoke to their audience and attracted their ideal clients, and they made a sell from it. And it's completely changed the way that they communicate from top to bottom throughout their entire business. It changed the way that they wrote their copies. It's changed the way that they put their messaging in their funnels. It's changed the way that they do their videos. It's changed everything from top to bottom, because now they know exactly how they need to be communicating to attract their ideal people. And they're doing it in a way that's genuine to them. And they're doing it in a way that only they can do.
I'd add as well, Iggy, it's not, this is something I've learned about marketing from seeing what you guys do, but marketing successfully, it's not just about doing what your audience likes. It's also standing against what they don't like as well. And, and in saying David and Candace, they're dropping a lot of F-bombs on some of their posts because that's who they are. Yes, they're turning certain people away, but that's important because that kind of polarization is exactly the sort of thing that really, it attracts other people to them. They're doing things that repel some and really pull others in. And usually when you try and, go straight down the line, you don't really get much of anything. Would you guys agree?
I call this the love at first sight principle, right? It's the fact that there are going to be some people who fall in love with you, and you want those customers. Because let's look at a stance where you take the plain Jane approach. You're picking something in the middle. You're going for general fat loss. People are going to look at your program and they're going to compare it, and they're going to go, "This is the same as everything else." But when you start using that language, that itself is niche. You're creating a niche through the way that you message and the language that you use. So there are going to be some people who see that and completely relate, and they go, "That's the program I want to be in. I really love David because he talks like me."
Exactly. And that's really what you want. You got to figure out what that is for you. So many people are caught up in trying to put on this kind of persona or communicate or do exactly what we're doing. And that's what creates a lot of problems for people, is they're focusing on the method and not the principle, right? If you really understand the principle and you're able to implement the methods using your principles and adapting the principles that we have, you're going to experience success, right? Because you're communicating in a way that's unique to you, is genuine to who you are. And the people, when they do see it, they're going to have that love at first sight. Not everybody who goes to my page falls in love with what I do, what I talk about, how I communicate. But those who resonate and who have the same kind of values are going to go to my page and be like, "Wow, this is the most incredible thing I've seen." I've had people go to my page and be like, "Dude, you're completely unintelligent and unprofessional." I've had people say that, which is hilarious, because I'm totally okay with offending people, because it means I'm one step closer to attracting my ideal person.
Yeah.
Right?
We don't do exercise in our program, right? Our program's not made for gym junkies. If we got our message wrong and ended up with, bodybuilders in a thyroid program, they'd destroy the whole thing. And, the bigger problem with this is that, bringing the wrong people into your program, you might be really good at sales. You bring the wrong people into your program, but they just don't pay you. So imagine the example with David. He's using, similar landing pages to what we're using. The message that's coming, across to his members is the poor mental health clients. And then they get in his program and David's talking about FU to yo-yo dieting. They're just going to be scared and they're just going to want to run. They're going to be asking a refund.
Well, that's the difference between him getting stellar reviews or them getting stellar reviews and terrible reviews. It's really, it's not about the way he's delivering it, because he's delivering it as his authentic self. They are. It's just that it really depends who he actually sells into the program. And if he gets his messaging right from the beginning, he will repel the people before the fact and then pull other people in the right area. And I think you can look at so many people that do marketing well at the top of the game. And these people, typically, they are very polarizing. Like even someone like a Grant Cardone, a lot of people would find him very jarring. He's quite egotistical in his approach, but some people love that. I mean, I guess you could say similar things about Donald Trump, right? I mean, he's so polarizing that there's pretty 50-50. You don't sort of sit on the fence with him, really, do you?
Exactly. Like you either love him or you love to hate him, right? That's really marketing at its core. If you're going to do it right, you need to be genuine to who you are, and you have to be okay with putting people off. You have to. Like there's no way around it. And if you're afraid to be genuine to yourself because you're afraid of putting people off, then guess what? Because you're afraid to put people off, You're failing to put a message out there that's going to attract your ideal client. And now you're wondering why I'm not getting any leads, why I'm not able to enroll people, why am I having such a hard time? Well, because you're afraid to put the message out there that will let your ideal clients know that you're the right fit for them, right? Because you haven't put it out there, they don't know who you are, they don't know you're the right fit for them, and therefore they're not going to be coming to you in droves.
I've got 3 examples of this, and these 3 guys are athletes and they're squillionaires and the biggest draws all in fighting. So you got Conor McGregor, you got Floyd Mayweather, whose nickname is Money because he's making so much money, right? And then you've got more recently Logan Paul, it's Logan Paul, isn't it?
Jake Paul and Logan Paul,
Jake
right?
Paul.
Both,
Yeah, both
really not well-known boxers.
They're no good at boxing. Like they're not at the elite level. They've just got a YouTube channel and they're marketing themselves, and people want to see them get knocked out, or they love them because they're running their mouths. So it's actually the fact that they're making noise. And that's the concept. If you're not making noise, you're sitting there, not doing anything. There's no way that people are going to be attracted to you, know? So
I'd also add as well, like, we're not saying that you have to be rude, obnoxious, swear, and all that kind of stuff. You just have to stand for something and against. And I think like a lot of the time, anybody has opinions, right? And a lot of the time you'll meet other people that have fairly similar opinions and there can be points of difference. And we tend not to want to say those things because it makes us uncomfortable. And what I've really observed is that the people that are the most sticky, the people that we really pay attention to, they're the ones that have the strongest opinions and they kind of stand up for and they rationalize what they think. It does not mean you have to be rude. I guess it just means that you are a certain way, you believe certain things and you put it out there.
And you got to do it unapologetically. That's the main thing. Is like, you don't have to have like the craziest set of beliefs, but you need to be unapologetic about your beliefs and about your values. And you need to make it clear what you value and what you really, what carries weight in your business, what carries weight in your philosophy, why you do things the way that you do and why you want to serve your clients the way that you want to serve them. Like, you need to know who you are and be able to communicate that very clearly to the world, because if you don't, you're going to have a really hard time getting traction in your business.
I think this is really important as well, because we talked about a lot of really aggressive marketing, the FU, the Conor McGregors, but, it can be just the same with softer marketing, right? You can have your message of fit over 50-year-olds, and it's like training as a 50-year-old is so different to training as a 20-year-old. The way that you need to train, the way that you need to eat, your body's changed. It's not the same. That's one message. Another soft example is with hypothyroidism. Hey, a large part of this isn't your fault, right? You've got thyroid problems. You're understood. You're a unique individual that's different to everybody else. And that's a really, really strong stance, but it's also coming from a place that, isn't the FU sort of stance and aggression.
Yeah. And I would also say as well, like an example related to systems by design is that we've put it out there and been pretty clear on this, is that we don't really think that organic marketing for fitness is anywhere near as effective as paid ads. So we've gone pretty hard after that. We've also put it out there and been very transparent about the fact that we don't like the idea of mentors who no longer have a fitness business, perhaps they never have, giving advice about how to run a fitness business. Like, that's absurd to us. And we've just attacked those people. Now, obviously, we could upset some people by doing that. We could put some people off. But I think at the same time, that really helps us build a tribe because people know what we're all about.
I like to think of it as a crusade against shitty mentors, pretty much.
Yeah. And I think what even attracts people to me, because we all have our own different kind of like ways that we communicate to our audiences and ways that our own personalities that come out. For me, a lot of people know that I don't like doing a lot of manual work. I hate not having leverage. I hate inefficiency, right? So a lot of people, when they see I communicate about like systems and automations and, being as efficient and leverage as possible in your business, a lot of people are drawn to that because they're used to mentors telling them like they have to put in all this work, they have to do all these things, and they have to like work really, really hard to get X result. And that's one way of doing it. Mm-hmm. Or you can say, F it, is there a more efficient way to do this? Right. And that's the kind of thing that I'm all about. And the cool thing about it is that as we each have our own way of communicating, we all kind of have the same set of values that we have as a company that's very clear, right? We're all about leverage. We're all about being efficient. We're all about systems. We're all about, having a business that's actually an asset to your life versus a liability.
Building a legitimate business, building something,
Yeah.
It's not just, we're not like, having a laugh and, having a cup of tea and bringing in a few organic clients. It's like, hey, if you work with us, you're building a legitimate business, building something big, because other approaches just aren't scalable. And that message for us is so, so clear and so, so strong, so that we don't get to make sure that we're actually getting the right people who actually really want to succeed.
Yeah. If you don't want to do this like legitimately and you just want this to be a hobby, then you have no business being in our program, because you're going to learn how to build systems. You're going to learn how to hire people. You're going to learn how to manage a team, and you're going to learn how to do some of those administrative type stuff that nobody else talks about in business, because they're just teaching people how to run a glorified hobby, right? That's really what it is. A lot of these programs are teaching people how to just have a glorified hobby.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had conversations about this over the last couple of months, guys. I mean, in terms of dealing with your specific niche and your real target audience, we're starting to have more people that come along, for sales calls with us. And, they clearly might not be a good fit. There's certain things that they want or that we don't have. And we're starting to very clearly decide that those people are not people we're willing to service. If we've somehow attracted them in our marketing, that's fine. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but you need to be very clear about who you help and who you don't, because otherwise, besides the fact that they're probably going to get into your program and complain, it's very draining helping people that aren't in your area of genius. They're not in your area of passion, creates conflict in the program as well. So when you message correctly and you do make it very clear what you're about, I think it does draw the right people in. And then you make sure that you only really work with the people that fit your particular criteria. It doesn't have to be really strict. There have to be certain things that you're not willing to accept. Otherwise, I think your program is going to suffer.
Absolutely. And it comes down to really having a standard that you're not willing to compromise. A lot of people go into the business struggling, and they start a business from a state of being desperate, from a state of desperation. And that's the worst state of mind to be in to start anything, right? Because if you're desperate, now you're willing to you're willing to give into anything for a buck, right? And I think this is one of the things a lot of people struggle with when they're going online, because they do it and they're so desperate for clients, they're so desperate for money. It's like, if you're really desperate for money, go and get a job so that you can actually like focus on doing this the right way, right? Don't start it because you're desperate for money. Start it from a mindset where it's like you really want to work with people and have an impact, and you want to grow a business. Even if you do want to make a lot of money in your business, you need to come at it from a space where you want to do it the right way, and you want to do it in a way that's going to allow you to attract the right types of people. If you start your business and you're completely desperate and you don't know how you're going to pay your bills and things like that, now you're starting from a place where you're just willing to accept anything and work with anybody, and you're not going to be clear in your messaging, and that's going to affect how polarizing you're willing to be, because you don't want to offend anybody, because you're thinking from a poor mindset. You're just thinking, oh, I need the sales, I need the clients, I need the money. So I have to make sure I'm communicating in a way that's appealing to everybody.
It's being a people pleaser, right?
Exactly.
When you're a people pleaser, it comes back to haunt you, because, people run all over you, right? Effectively. And you're never ever going to get your message out there. And, you have these beliefs inside of you. Like, everyone knows what their real message is. You have this constant, internal dialogue of what's going on. But if you're not willing to share that, you're also not going to get satisfaction out of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like, you feel passionate when you're being yourself, and it's very hard to passionately go on video or to sell. And these are times when your personality really is put on show. How are you supposed to do a good job of those things? By motivating somebody when you're not actually being who you are. And, this is something that we will find on sales calls a lot, is that, people, they want to be led. They don't want someone to give them a big kiss on the bum. They want people to actually, say, look, this is what you need to be doing. It's about leading people, and you have to have a position. You have to be embedded into something that you believe in. If you don't have that, then no one gives a shit, to be honest. That's the truth.
Imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's where it comes from. If you're not genuine and you don't have like clear convictions, like a set of beliefs and values that you hold dear, if you don't have those things very clear, then it's going to be really hard to be successful in business. Like even like think of like the most successful entrepreneurs and like the billionaires of the world. Like I think about like a Bill Gates, who on the front end seems very like unthreatening. He's very unthreatening. He doesn't look intimidating in any way, shape, or form. But when you start to actually study like how he grew his business and how the values that they have, he was a very like unapologetic type of guy, right? He had clear standards, he had clear focus. And then that's, if you start to study like entrepreneurs who are successful, you start to notice like their personalities are different. But one of those core things that they have about them is they know their values, they know their standard, and they're not willing to compromise in it.
One of the things I didn't know anything about Bill Gates till I watched that Netflix doco about him. Yeah, it was great. I didn't know anything about him. And like, in my opinion, like he doesn't exactly shout to the world all the work that he does for charity. And he's almost like, it's crazy that he's one of the most known people in the world. And I didn't even know that he was this huge, quite achiever, changing people's lives. AP, what is it? I know what's he doing over in?
He's got a number of different things. He's doing a lot of work in Africa with. It's one of the problems over there. But I know he's doing things
solving water and sewage stuff.
Yeah, sanitation is a big thing over there. But there's also I don't know if you know. I don't think it's polio, is it? Maybe there's something that he's trying to eradicate, and he got very, very close and he didn't do it. But regardless of that, the idea is that he has things that really are his guiding principles. And you'll see, I mean, Elon Musk, he has things that he stands for. He's very, very unapologetic. Bezos, Zuckerberg, like none of these guys are really considered to be people that are shy about their opinions, right? They're pretty well known to be, hard people to work for, in a sense that they are so clear on what they want. And if you get in their way, then you're going to be done. You're going to be in the dust behind them on the floor. It's all about their mission.
Who at the top of the game? Can you guys think of anyone who's at the top of the game who actually is pleasing people?
No one.
No one. Yeah. I can't think of anybody.
Not at the very top.
Really think about that. Who at the top of the game in business or in life is there like trying to please everyone? Minus politicians. even politicians have a clear agenda. And they're willing to use people to get to where they want to be. But like, think about like in the business world, entrepreneurs, like who's at the top of the game trying to please everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. And there's a reason for that.
I mean, I saw that Tony Robbins documentary, like I'm Not Your Guru. He's not messing around in that as well. Like he's accusing people of feeling a certain way. And, they could very easily say, you know what, F you, man, that's not how I'm feeling. But he believes it so strongly that he's willing to put it out there. You've got a lot of these really famous marketers. What's the name of the guy? Gary Vee. He's not backwards in coming forwards. He always puts his opinions out there. There's not one person that I can think of who's successfully marketing who is like, oh, don't worry, just like come in and everybody's involved. No, that never works. There's no message out there. Even in politics, and you hear about the politics more in the States, it's more about like the far right or the far left. That's the message that you always hear, at least in Australia, because they're the things that sort of they pattern interrupt. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing when it comes to politics, but it's a great example of what we pay attention to.
It's like, it doesn't matter what you just need. I think the most important step when it comes to authentic marketing or being authentic in your marketing and in your brand and in your messaging and how you communicate, one of the most important steps is just really getting clear on who you are and what you stand for and the kind of impact that you want to have with your business. Who do you want to work with? What kind of changes do you want to make for them? Like once you get clear on those things, it makes everything so much easier. It creates a domino effect that makes it easier for you to make ads. It makes it easier for you to actually work on your funnel. That makes it easier for you to actually work on what you deliver. That makes it easier for your sales. Everything from top to bottom becomes easier once you have that one thing figured out and you're clear on what your values are, who you are, and who you want to help.
Are there any major areas like, because you guys are in the trenches on this stuff. Are there any major things that our members or other fitness professionals that you see are regularly getting wrong in terms of the way they do their messaging?
The thing that they're doing wrong nonstop is just being robotic, trying to please everybody. That's like the biggest thing, is like trying to please everybody. It's like this mindset where I can help anybody. No, you can't. Like, I can help anybody technically, but do I want to? No, I don't.
You want to make impact in your own field. You want to make impact with the people that you want to help. And trying to, if you're a bodybuilder taking on women with hypothyroidism, that's just, it's not going to work in the long term. And, from a marketing standpoint, they're not going to be attracted to you. I used to run ads for a guy, big bodybuilder, 120 kilos, 200 something pounds. And, he came in and he wanted to do something really similar to what I wanted to do. Now, he was running gut health for women struggling with mental health, but being a 200 kilo guy, not 200 kilos, 200 pound guy, he was running the identical funnels to us, exactly the same. It was the same ad. It was the same, similar 7-day challenge, like the structure of it. And people would go in there, they'd see him and they'd run. Whereas people would go in there, they'd see me, I'd share my story, and then they'd go, oh, wow. Yeah. So that for me is just continuously the same thing over and over again. People just think that because we've got huge success, because we've got multi-million-dollar businesses, that they should just copy us exactly. And I know that, and, I feel that we kind of made the mistake with our marketing message at the very start, where it's like, hey, copy paste a business. Yeah. And that's something that we've definitely tried to clean up now, right?
Yes, it's model success, don't copy it. Right? Model what's working. And that's why one of the things I really focus on, even in the program now, is emphasizing the understanding, making sure people understand the principles of why we're doing what we're doing. Right? The people who are able to grasp the principles and then effectively implement are the ones who are successful. Right? And I remember this quote, I don't know it word for word, but it goes like, the man who focuses on implementing methods without principle seldom sees success, but the man who understands principles can choose his own method of success. Does that make sense? So it's like, if you understand the principle behind what's working, you can take that principle and then create your own method and how you're going to implement it. Yep. Right. And you can implement the principle in a way that's unique to you, in a way that's in line with who you are, in a way that's in line with your values and what you want to do. And you're going to see success from actually just modeling what's working, but understanding the guiding principles behind it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, when we started HypoBT like four years ago now, pretty much, we modeled off another guy that was doing 7-day challenges, which is, that was how we, for a lot of the time, we'd used to generate leads. Now, one of the things that he'd said, he had all these things that he was doing for his challenges. We didn't really pay that much attention to that, but he did say, look, you need to stand for something and against. So when we were discussing what we wanted to put in as the habits into our challenge, part of what came into our consideration was what was going to be polarizing. So on day one, for example, we did vegetables only. Now, we knew some people are going to be like, this is a ridiculous fad, but other people were like, ooh, what's this? This is different, And then on the second day, we were doing something different. We included fasting, which was a bit of a contentious issue as well. And we included it, because we knew it would be successful, but also because we knew that it would capture people's attention and it would turn, and it still does to this day. Fasting, as an example, that turns quite a few people away from our challenge. But at the same time, it pulls a heck of a lot of people in, as seen by the fact that we still make so many sales. And I just think if we'd gone down the line and been like, yeah, just have some vegetables and have some fruit and have a bit of protein and everyone a bit, like no one cares. That's the thing. You have to do something different.
Well, perhaps we made even a little bit of a mistake with the 7-day challenge. I really think that the first challenge that we ran, it was far more aggressive. We don't do 7-day challenges so much, but I think we changed it in the second one to have 4 cups of veggies. And that was a bit softer, but I really do believe that the very first challenge we ran had the most success. And we had a lot of people drop out because they were supposed to eat vegetables only. They were like, no, that's too tough. right? They'd look at it from, that point. But when they actually read why why you eat only vegetables for one day, it's actually a lesson. It's not something you're going to do every day, but it's so that that person can go through their own transformation and find out that, hey, I actually don't eat vegetables. And then when they're forced to eat them all day, it's them being able to reflect and suddenly go, oh, okay. And that gives them a reason for wanting to work with us, because we highlighted the thing that they don't know about. We've given them that transformation.
Yeah. Somebody else that really springs to my mind as a person who does authentic marketing perfectly is James Caan. Now, a lot of people listening might know who he is, but he's an Australian fitness coach who's very well regarded in this country. And it's very hard not to know who he is once he starts coming on your feed, because he helps young men, or it can be young business males to get into great shape and change their life. Now, let's think about his messaging. Just about every video he does, he's got his shirt off and he's just walking the streets talking, and that grabs your attention because, he's just completely unapologetic about who he is. Some people might not appreciate a shredded guy being on their computer screen. I don't know, but he doesn't give a shit. He's just there all the time. He's talking about things, and he's like, if ever I ask him about something that he doesn't agree with, he's just like, no, dude, that's completely wrong. He doesn't beat around the bush. That's something that really pulls me in. And I'm actually far more inclined to listen to him because of the strength of his convictions. And I think this is where so many fit pros are missing, is that they just want to please everybody. They just want to kind of come across sort of like that ham sandwich sort of approach, nothing that exciting. And they just get lost in the crowd.
Yeah. James comes across as a doctor, right? He tells you what to do, and he's got so much conviction that, you hang on every word, and sometimes you disagree what he's saying, but for the most part, because he's so confident, you're like, this guy must know his shit.
He's very opinionated, and I think that's a good thing.
One of the interesting things about James is, and this is a bit of a sidetrack from, what we're talking about at the moment, but his brand is just exceptional, absolutely exceptional. And part of the reason is that he gives something beyond just the basics. He doesn't just do weight loss. He actually helps men become better men. And that's something in common with all the brands that really, really succeed, right? Because people kind of go to him thinking, hey, I want to transform my body and I want to lose weight. But then they actually realize, you know what? I want to be like James. I love James. And, that's the person I want to be. And I want to be more alpha. I want to be in that circle.
Exactly.
And that's what you want, especially in the health and fitness space. You need to have a brand that's transforming people's lives. That's the only way to really put it. Like, it's got to create a transformation. You got to be giving people an identity shift. And oftentimes that identity shift of them becoming more like you or becoming a lesser version of who you are, right? You're like the standard of where you're trying to take people to. If you're able to structure in a way where you know who you are, you're clear on your message and the kind of impact that you want to have, it's going to be so much easier for you to get your message across and put it in front of the people who stand to benefit from it, because you know who they are, right? And you know the kind of identity that you want to create for them. And that's why you see a guy like James, who's able to do really well, because he knows he's like the ideal standard for the men that he's working with. Right?
Do you think that's completely important? Like, do you think it matters? Do you have to market yourself, or can you have a strong enough brand without having to do that?
You can have a strong enough brand. It doesn't have to be you, but your brand needs to be creating. I think about all the different brands, especially in the health space, that are doing really good. Those are really creating a new identity for their audience, right? They're creating a transformation for them, whether you're the face of it or not. The brand needs to have clear convictions. They need to know who they're trying to attract and the kind of change that they want to create in their clients. All right, whether it's you or your brand, that message needs to be clear regardless. And if it is clear, those are the ones that win.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great discussion today. Guys, is there anything that you feel that we've left uncovered so far?
No, I think we've pretty much hit everything on the head. And I just feel like, the key messages, right? It's just be yourself, be authentic, enjoy it.
Think about who you want to work with, who you don't want to work with. You can't just have a niche that you're passionate about if there is no niche, if there is no sort of market there. But at the same time, you don't want to hate what you're doing because you're working in an area that is completely at odds with who you are. So you have to kind of find that balance. And I guess that's something that you both definitely excel at, is helping people find a niche and therefore to strengthen their brand. I've heard you both say it a number of times, is that shitty brand, and you're not really going to have any success in marketing. So people need to really get clear on what they're modeling, not copying, like who they're wanting to help and how they're going to communicate with that niche. And I think if they can do that effectively and authentically, they're going to get some amazing results.
Absolutely. If we analyze the clients who are killing it in the program, they're all doing something unique to them, but they're modeling what's working, and they're not copying exactly what we're doing. They're just modeling what we've done, but in their own unique way. They're each very distinct. There's a difference between each one and what they're doing and how they're doing it, because they understand the principles of what's working, and they're just modeling the success that we have and executing it in a way that's unique to them.
Yeah, our best guys, I come out of a one-on-one with them, and they're like, it'll be like, I've tried A, B, C, D this week. This worked, this didn't. And you're just like, that person has gone light years above the person who's just trying to copy.
No, I agree. Absolutely. I think it's a really powerful message, and it's something that definitely our listeners need to think about very seriously, whether you're just about to start out a business or whether you're already in it. Please go and re-listen to today's episode and see if you can take some real gems out of it in moving forward.